Well, while the first episode was great, it definitely did have problems, and the second episode fixed those problems. Also, fuck what I said, because we do have an intro, and let's get to that intro. Hey guys, Cameron from Animal Kingdom, Season 1, Episode 2, We Don't Hurt People, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I really enjoyed the premiere overall, and like I said, while it did have problems, and I feel it did focus a bit too much on Pope's character, and Jay and everything, I thought overall was a very good, solid premiere, and really showed the potential that the show had, and the second episode I actually thought was an improvement over the first one. I thought there were some really great scenes in this episode, there was some really intense stuff here, but there were some things introduced here that I really think are stupid, and hopefully it's not going the direction I hope it is with some of the storylines that are introduced in this episode. But let's just get into it. And also, I will say that now this episode got me to care more for Darren and Craig, because it wasn't that I didn't care for them, it was because I didn't like their characters. And this episode kind of gets me to like them more. They're still pretty much bullies, but this episode kind of got me to like them more. Therefore, in general, it does more with them. So that's one of the things I think the first episode didn't do as much with. This episode does a lot more with them. But let's just get into this episode. There's a lot to talk about. We start off and there's another pool party at the house. Craig's shoulder is in a bandage, and Pope is bullying Jay, and Baz is stopping him. And I like the way that Baz, again, is kind of not letting anyone push Jay around. Nikki's there too. Smurf comes out as the boys are roughhousing, and I love how her and Nikki are like going back and forth about who she should just let win. She's like, you know what, I'm just rooting for both of them. And you kind of get the sense that this is normal. Pope and Baz then wrestle. He busts Pope's nose, and Pope then makes Jay drink shots with them, and Smurf takes Nikki to help her in the kitchen. Nikki asks if she always cooks like this, and Smurf says they have big appetites, and Smurf asks which of the boys would she take to a desert island if Jay wasn't around, basically just kind of asking her, and Nikki then says that Baz is cool, and then we go right to the intro. Kind of a weird way to get to the intro, which, by the way, let me just say, that intro is awesome. I really do love it. I think it's really cool that we have one. I like that the show has a really nice, long intro, because it's really good overall. It's different, but it definitely is really good, and I really do enjoy it. But the way that she just randomly said Baz is cool, then we went to the intro, that just felt a bit weird to me. That is an editing issue. It's not really a problem with the episode. It's just an editing issue. So Jay is not feeling well from all the booze and goes to lie down in his bed. He's queasy. He throws up in a trash can, and Baz goes home to his beach house, comments that Catherine is smoking again. She says the security guard died, and she says that he was a cop in Long Beach that as moonlighting. She says it's been nonstop on the news, and Catherine says that Lena's napping. Baz says he can't stay, has to go home, but can take Lena, and she says Crystal can watch her, and she's very aggravated. Baz presses her. She says she's taking Lena and going, and basically you can tell that obviously, she's going through a lot of problems, and basically Smurf then watches Pope throwing wood around the yard, and again, just the way that Pope is shown in this episode, this guy is off. There's something about him, and even in this episode you can definitely tell, and Baz then calls Smurf, tells her to turn on the news. Craig is with a girl who says his wound reeks, and let me just say, the girl was hot as shit. Nikki and this girl, they're both really hot, and that's something in Animal Kingdom as well, is that they have very attractive women on this show. But she climbs off him, says it needs drained, and basically, Ren says that she needs a shower, gets dressed. That's the name of the girl, is Ren. She gets dressed. He asks if she can get some more oxy. She told him 20, and says with that and the coke, he has enough to OD on, but he says he's big, so he has to take more, and she tells him to face the wall, and he turns. She goes into her stash, says leave the cash in there. He says he doesn't have it now, and she says no drugs. He says he's good for it. She says fine, kisses him, says don't die until he pays her, and he pops some pills. You kind of get the sense that she might be a prostitute, possibly, that he's, having sex with, and I thought that was definitely very interesting. Not that the episode got me to like Craig more, it's just I think the episode did more with him, so therefore, in general, made me like, like his character more, just because they did more with him in this episode, and they showed more what he could be like, and I definitely did like seeing that. So that alone, shows why this episode is a step above the first one. So Jay is conked out, wakes to Smurf cleaning the vomit, and he says sorry, and again, he's still trying to get used to the household, you can definitely tell, but she said it's alright, raised 4 boys, and she's seen a lot worse, and, that's understandable. When we saw Craig's wound, we can understand that. She tells him to lie back down. Smurf sits, tells him something happened that involves them, and she says he's in the family now, and we'll see and hear things that have to stay in the family. And I like that she has this conversation, because we know that obviously, Craig and Darren don't really trust him, as neither does Pope, but I like she had this conversation just to say, you know, can we really trust you? And she says he's a smart kid and gets it. She says they don't hurt people and don't take stupid risks but are human. She says sometimes a rule gets broken, and that's basically what this episode's about, is that they're not really supposed to hurt people, but they do anyway. And she asks if he'll be okay. He nods. She says, good boy. She says, just come to me. Says there's no secrets in the family. She pulls off his shirt and says it's filthy. She says, take off your pants, then asks if he needs help. She asks him to go find Darren and bring him home, then says she thinks he's surfing. She hands him clean clothes and tells him to hand over the underwear too, literally strips in front of her. There's no hiding anything from this lady. It's just really weird, and that's something that definitely stands out, is that Smurf clearly, you know, has so much control of his family, and Smurf is clearly somewhere, if she tells you to do something, you do what she says, and Helen Barkin is just killing this role, and already I think is just scene stealing every scene that she's in. She really was fantastic, and you know, I really am loving her in this show. She really is fantastic. And a lot of people said she's like Gemma in Sons of Anarchy. I don't see her that way. I see her as a lot more controlling. I see her as the head of the family, definitely, and you know, she's just really tough, and you know, she definitely knows what she wants. And Jay then rides to the beach, spots Darren's car. He's with a guy in the bathroom, then Darren beats the guy he was with and lies, says he was trying to take his wallet. He was having sex with the guy, and Darren says the guy was going through his truck while he was surfing, then ran to the bathroom. And Jay says that Smurf said him to bring him home but didn't say why. Darren says throw your bike in, ride with me, but Jay says no, rides off. And I like that Jay already is not giving in to them, because he knows obviously he can't really trust Darren and Craig, that they're not really good people, that they're doing these horrible things, and he really does not agree with what they're doing. And Darren then rides after him and honks. Darren gets too close, says no, come here, Jay. He goes up a sidewalk where Darren can't follow. He follows him down a side street, harasses him, following way too close. He falls off his bike, takes a hard tumble. Darren backs up, says she back at the house. And see you back at the house. He peels away. Jay's hand is bleeding, and he's very badly hurt, and basically, I really like the way that scene was done. I thought that was really good. Then we get to what was by far, I think, my favorite scene in this episode, where Smurf tells the boys that they have to destroy the watches and says a fence will flip on them over a cop's death. And Pope asks, says that they shouldn't have done the job, let Einstein scout the security, and Smurf asks if the other guards can ID them, but Baz says no. She asks if they wore masks when they got the tweezers, and Baz says not when they picked them up. Baz says that the plan was to let their DNA match the tweezers, and Smurf asks if anyone, saw them get the getaway car and why Jay was banged up, and Jay covers for Pope, says no one saw them. Baz says they dropped the SUV at the salvage yard, and Smurf goes off because the car has Craig's blood in it, and Smurf tells them to go strip and leach it, and Darren says that Baz made the call, and that's why Jay is getting a free ride. And, it was all Baz that did this. And, Jay shouldn't be getting a free ride because of it. And Smurf tells Jay to help his uncles with the car after school. He says, sure. Smurf walks off irritated. And Jay then finds Baz pacing in the garage. And the way that he took the fall for Pope, because obviously, this was Pope's fault, but Jay took the fall from him, I thought was really interesting to see the way that he's already having Pope's back. I mean, even though you can see they don't really trust Pope, Pope is part of the family. And they're going to have his back, and you can definitely tell. But basically, Baz says that he did the right thing, says always come to him first, and Baz is a lot more sincere. You can really tell this guy actually is someone that Jay can trust, and actually is someone that Jay can talk to. And Baz in this episode, I'm really starting to enjoy his character. They do a lot of really good stuff in this episode. You can see he's kind of like the moral compass in many ways. So the way he is, he seems a lot like the moral compass. He is really he's very grounded. He knows what's right, and he really knows, how corrupted this family is, and he's clearly very experienced as well. And basically, Jay tells him that Pope checked the guy's license and asks if he'll do something to him. Baz asks what kind of family he thinks they are. He says he's got it from here, and Baz finds Pope outside, smashing the fire pit in the yard with a sledgehammer. Pope asks what Jay told him. Baz says he should have told Smurf. He says there are no loose ends, and he scared the guy. Pope says he can't ID them, and Pope says that Jay is the only loose end. Baz tells him he's just a kid and to ease up on him, and, really, that's true. I mean, Jay is just a kid, and he doesn't really understand what they do and what their job is, and, Pope needs to understand it. Like, that Baz is kind of trying to get Pope to understand. I definitely really did enjoy that. So Smurf is ironing when Baz comes to her. She says he cornered Craig about the tweakers, and Baz says the Pope isn't sleeping and is wandering around all night, and we don't know why. I mean, that itself is really creepy, and Baz says the Pope is convinced that they can't trust Jay. They stare at Pope with concern, because obviously, this is a guy that just seems like he's about to go off. Like, it seems like he's just gonna attack someone, and we know, obviously, he already attacked Jay in the first episode, so already the guy's a loose cannon, and they gotta be careful of him. So the guys are wrecking the Range Rover later. Darren asks if Craig can go slower. He complains about his bullet wound. Darren says that they're broke now too, and he says he's sick of it, and Darren is literally complaining about a wound. I mean, fuck you, Darren. Seriously, this is your own uncle, and you're treating him like shit. I mean, Darren is just really not a good guy at all, and you definitely do see that here. And basically, we get this really immature complaint. Honestly thought they were kind of mature in this scene, because Darren says they're broke now too, and he says he's sick of it. He says he's sick of Smurf controlling the cash while they do all the work. He says he'll just pull his own jobs if this keeps up. Darren tells Craig that they can do it. Craig says he's in. Darren asks where are Pope and Baz, and then talk about Pope cutting off his own hand to see what it looks like. He bitches about Baz never getting his hands dirty, and that's because Baz, like I said, is grounded. He doesn't really want to get himself involved in this kind of stuff. And Craig walks off, takes some oxy, checks his wound, which is festering, and Jay then finds his room wrecked when he comes out of the shower. Pope asks where's the watch that he gave him, and he says he gave it to Nikki like he told him to. Pope says get it back. He asks what else Jay is hiding, and Jay says nothing, because he knows that clearly there's something else going on. Pope says he hid things up in the vent when he was his age. He says he hid all sorts of shit from Smurf. Pope says he'll take him and Nikki to school, and tells him to get dressed. Jay gets dressed, he grabs a towel from the garage, digs up the gun where he buried it, and again, Pope is another character that he says do something you do, because he's just seems really just very shady in this scene, and never has Pope felt more sketchy than in this next scene with Nikki and Jay. He puts it into his backpack, gets in the truck, then Pope comes out glaring. Pope looks around suspiciously. Nikki's in the car up front, talks to Pope about her mom being mad that she blew through a stop sign, and she says her dad just made lieutenant commander. She talks about needing money for a Kaboo, and Pope says just rob a bank. She says her parents would come after her. He says just tie them up, and Nikki laughs, and of course, she thinks that, she's basically jokingly saying that he's psycho, but we can kind of tell that he's actually sincere. I don't think Nikki realizes they actually is sincere. I mean, to Nikki, she doesn't really think much of this family. She just kind of thinks, alright, this is Jay's family, that's just kind of how it is, and I like that Nikki really isn't seeing how crazy Pope really is, because clearly he's very crazy, and Nikki doesn't really see that right now, which is understandable. I mean, just the way that Pope is talking to her, he doesn't really seem that off, and Pope then comments her watch. She says Jay gave it to her. She'll never take it off. Pope then glares at him and literally is just staring at him. And the guys are melting down the car parts. Smurf and Baz show up. They have the watches with them. She tells him Pope tossed Jay's room, then lied about it. And Baz asks if they can get Pope back on the meds. And we realize that Pope isn't taking his meds, and that might be part of the reason why Pope is so sketchy, but she says no chance. She tells him to throw the watch into the smelter. They hand them over, and the box goes into a vat of molten metal and is eaten up by flames, and obviously they have to burn them because that's the evidence. Clearly they steal things, and they need to make sure that no one sees that. So I thought that was definitely very interesting. So then they walk out. Catherine is doing laundry and finds Pope at the house with Lena on his lap. She's not pleased. Smurf goes to their storage unit and lets herself inside because obviously, Baz said that he'd watch Lena and that didn't happen. And Smurf goes to their storage unit, lets herself inside. There's a safe there. She has the watches. Something else within the box she gave Baz to burn. And Pope tells Catherine that he brought Lena a present and says she didn't answer his letters. Catherine tells him to go before Baz gets home, and she says this is in his mind, but he says she liked it too, and she says she and Baz were fighting and she was drunk, and he wants to know if she told Baz, and she says maybe he will. Lena comes in as they're talking about. Catherine says that she loves Baz and tells Pope please. He glares, walks out patting Lena on the head, and Catherine asks if she remembers their secret word, and she says snowflakes and tells her not to forget what to do, and just really interesting what's going on there, because I feel like there's something more going on there we don't really know. But then we get this kind of bizarre scene that I really hope isn't going the way I think it is, because well, you see Jay, he's in school. Luckily, he's in school. Now he's not listening to Darren and Craig, so he is going to go to school. But he's very distracted, you can tell. He's not at all thinking about school. He still gets the answers right, though. And the teacher asks him to hang back, asks him about his mom, then wants to know if he's all right. She asks where he's living. He says with his grandma, and he said it's okay. She says he's lucky to have family. Tells him he's an excellent student, hates to see a change. And she's clearly seems like she's overstepping her boundaries. Just the way, she's like, oh, you can call me by my first name. It kind of seems like this is going in a student-teacher type direction, and I really hope it's not that way, because it seems like she has feelings for him, and he clearly doesn't. He likes Nikki, and basically she even says to let Nikki do her own homework, then says it'll be good for her, but just the way she says it, she doesn't just come across as a concerned teacher, she comes across as someone that might actually be affectionate towards Jay, and it's really creepy overall, and I really hope we're not going that direction, because it's just, I don't want this show to do that. I think it's really dumb, and I don't really want the show to go in that direction. I don't think they need to, and especially because I like Jay and Nikki together. I think Nikki's the perfect girlfriend for Jay. I don't really think there's anything wrong. I mean, obviously she's doing drugs, but other than that, she seems really supportive. Seems like she really cares about him. and I don't really know why they'd have to mess it up, because I don't really think they need to mess up. I think this is something where Jay and Nikki do have a future together. I think they should stay together, and I don't want anything to really jeopardize that, because I like those two together. Definitely one of my favorite parts of these first two episodes is Jay and Nikki's relationship. I like that Nikki isn't crazy. I like that she's a normal girl, and I like seeing that. Especially in a show that's full of crazies, I like that Nikki and Jay so far are pretty reserved, and I like seeing that. So Smurf studies the file, then gets out of her car, snaps a heel off her shoe, then scraps her hand till it's bloody. She hobbles off some steps, rings a doorbell. She looks in the window. She tells Jonah that she tripped on her front walk, locked her keys in the car, and damn is she good. I mean, really, she's very sneaky, very sly. I loved how sly she was in the scene. Again, Ellen Barkin just killed it here. He says he doesn't know her. She says she's Lynn Lambert, a neighbor, and asks to use his bathroom. He lets her in. She cleans her hand, then goes to his medicine cabinet, searches through the drugs, and clearly he's going to try to steal his drugs to get them to Pope. And she thinks back to a similar stunt as a kid, and now we kind of know what she does. She clearly steals things. It's really interesting the way it was done. But I like that we saw that Smurf really is no better. She also is very corrupted. She's doing a lot of illegal things, and I definitely like seeing that. I thought that was definitely really well done. So, Darren tells Craig that Smurf makes them do the grunt work since she thinks they're dumb. Craig is in bad shape. Darren comes to check on him. Craig says that he took too many painkillers. Darren wants to see the wound and he's shocked. Craig says it hurts like a bitch, and Darren says he needs to go to Mexico. Craig says he can't since Darren screwed up the recon and he got shot, and Darren says it'll take 3 days and says they can burn it. Craig says it's metal, but Darren says it'll burn to ash, and Bazin goes to a trailer, cleans out a fridge, unpacks some cat food. A cat meows, he cleans up the dishes, and the guy sits there watching TV. He points a gun at the guy's head. Baz's phone rings, and it's Smurf. The guy asks if he brought the cat food, and Baz walks out. Darren goes to gas to burn the Range Rover. Jay pulls up on his bike. Darren lights a smoke, and Craig nods. He tosses the cigarette onto the car. The flames start, and Jay pulls up, looks at it. Darren says, now they'll know how well you can keep a secret. They tell him to put his bike in the back, and he does. And I kind of saw what they're doing here. This I kind of understood why they're doing this, because they clearly want to make sure that they can trust Jay, obviously, because they don't really know if they can trust him. And he's brand new into the family. They still don't really know who he really is, and they want to make sure that they can actually trust him, that Smurf is not just saying that. They want to make sure that they actually can trust this guy, and I like the way this scene was done. They drive him off in the back, and Baz goes to his mom's place. Pope is still chopping up the thing in the yard. We don't know why he's doing this. She says he's worse than ever, then asks why he didn't answer his phone. He says he was on the beach and didn't hear it. She says there's a reward of $25,000 for info, and Baz says that they literally have nothing, and she says that they have to lie low, and he says the others won't like not having money. She says she'll make sure they're taken care of, and Darren comes in, says it's all good. She asks about Jay, and he says they dropped him off at Nikki's, and Baz asks where's Craig, and he says probably snoring since 3 days after he got shot, his mom made him go deal with a toxic situation. Baz comments on Jay spending a lot of time with Nikki, and she says she had a talk with Jay. She says she borrowed some files from Pope's old shrink and borrowed some files, and she stole mental meds and crushes them up in Pope's food. She talks about where she first took Bazin and how he used to steal food, and I thought this was a good scene that we realized really that Baz does have a criminal background, and she kind of turned things around for him. She talks about how his parents were shits, and she says she doesn't know how Baz survived. She kisses him, puts his head, and pets his head, and they stare at Pope, and very interesting the way it was done. I definitely really did like that scene overall, and I like seeing the family without Jay for once, because, so far we've seen a lot of scenes with Jay, but the scene was without Jay, and it was probably one of my favorite scenes of the episode. So later, Baz goes home, finds Lena in the kitchen. She sighs as he knocks on the door. She opens up. He asks why she locked both doors. She says sorry. He says he didn't call because he didn't want to wake up Lena. He asks if she's still mad. She says no. She walks off. She says the cop's funeral was huge and was on TV. She says they have to arrest someone. He says it won't be them. He says they clean it all up. He promises her it's clean. She says if Swap breaks down the door, promise her that he'll let them cuff her so Lena won't get shot because they do something stupid. He promises, he kisses her and promises again, and I like the way that Catherine and, Baz are making up. I like seeing that. I thought that was definitely well done, and he sees a little doll that's strange and says it looks like something from a Mexican horror movie, and we don't know why this doll is there, what's going on there. Craig then crushes up Oxy, snorts it, then he turns on a torch, heats up a knife, stares in the mirror, bites down something, then puts the searing hot knife to his flesh. Oh my god, this was so hard to watch. Just knowing what he's about to do, the fact that he's literally gonna light his wound on fire, holy shit, I mean, Smurf then stares at Pope, who's naked in the yard, staying there. We still don't know why he's doing this. She hears screaming, goes to see what it is. She finds Craig in the garage in agony. Of course, she asks what he's doing, and it's really bad. I mean, what he's doing, it looked really bad, and Baz takes him to Mexico. They drag him out of the car. He looks bad. They take him to the shady doctor's office. The guy tells Baz to wait outside. They start working on Craig. Baz then waits. Now, why'd they go to Mexico? I don't know, but Baz waits downstairs, and a woman then approaches him and kisses him. She holds him tight. Who this woman is, I don't know. I don't really like this twist, but that's the way the episode ends, and overall, let's get into this episode. So overall, I thought a very solid second episode. Definitely really did enjoy it overall. I thought, honestly, there were some things that were better here. Like Darren and Craig, you can see they do generally care for Jay. They just don't really know if they can trust him right now, and that's kind of why they're bullying him. Does that make them good characters? No, they're still kind of unlikable. They're still kind of dicks, and it doesn't really make them nice guys. But you do see that there is reasoning behind why they're taunting Jay. You definitely do see that, and I like seeing that. Now, let's talk about Baz. Who is this girl? What is the connection she has with Baz? I feel like it's just an old flame, but why is she back there? Why did he kiss her? We don't really know. I mean, I thought he was with Catherine, but maybe he's not. I don't really know. I feel like he's trying to show there's a lot more going on in Baz's past than we think, and I'm looking forward to seeing more what's going on with that, so that's definitely going to be interesting to see more what's going on with Baz. As far as Craig goes, is Craig going to be okay? I mean, I know he's not going to die. He's a main character. But what's going to happen to his wound? I mean, this is obviously very serious. They need to do something about it, and I don't really know how that's going to go. Why is Pope doing these things in the yard? Why is he naked in the yard? Why does he keep staring randomly? I mean, what is the reason for doing this? There's clearly something he's doing. We don't really know what it is, and that's something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. Is he going to realize that Smurf is giving him pills? Obviously, she is. That's something I don't think he knows right now, is that that she is, in fact, giving him these crushed pills, and it's really smart the way she's doing it. I also love the control that Smurf has out over everyone. Smurf tells you to do something, you don't hesitate, you do it, and that's just how it goes. And now Jay, I really hope we're not going in a student-teacher direction with this teacher. I don't want her to have feelings for Jay. It kind of seemed like she did. I hope it's not. I hope it's just something that's kind of just like fun that they deal with. I hope it's not really something that big, but I like Jay and Nikki. I think one of the strongest parts of the show is Jay and Nikki. I like them overall. I'm hoping we see more what's going on there. I definitely really did enjoy what we saw with that. I thought that was definitely interesting. What is up with this doll, obviously? Because there's a reason why there's this doll's here. Baz doesn't know why it's there. What does that doll really mean? That's something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. But what the hell is up with that doll? We don't really know. I like the way we're slowly starting to reveal things about their past, like Baz's criminal background, but I think that's something that we're going to learn next week, is that Baz, like I said, is a lot more corrupted than we ever thought. I think we're definitely going to find that out next week. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on there. That's going to be really interesting. As far as Catherine and Baz, I like their relationship. I really do, and I don't want things to go badly for them. I'm hoping that Catherine and Baz, things are okay with them. I'm hoping this girl is just, an old flame, and it's nothing really that big, because I think if they do go in this direction of Baz is cheating on Catherine, I mean, I'm not going to care. Why? Because I've only seen Catherine for 2 episodes, and I don't care, that he's cheating on a girl that we've only known for 2 episodes. I just don't really care yet, because we just met these characters. Now is not the time to do a cheating storyline. You never do that in episode 3. It's just not the time to do that. You need to get to learning the characters first, and that's something I did like with this episode, that they gave us a little bit more time to focus on Darren and Craig. They didn't have as much with Pope. Pope, obviously, he's a loose cannon. He's obviously very shady, and he continues to be very shady in this episode. We don't really know what's going on with him. It looks like next week Smurf is going to find out that Jay is lying, and that Jay, in fact, did take the fall for Pope. It finds that, it looks like that she is going to find that out. I don't know really what's going to happen there, but it looks like things get really bad. But overall, guys, I definitely looking forward to the rest of the show. I really enjoyed the second episode. I like both episodes overall. I'm definitely intrigued. I really like the direction the show is going. Let me know if you guys saw this episode, how to compare the first episode, which episode you like better. Love to hear your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys next week, which will be for Feed the Beast, which, guys, might be my last episode, might be the last episode watching Feed the Beast, maybe not. You guys will see my review, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.